Think back to a time you were revising for a really hard exam or a test. Did you spend long, strenuous hours trying to remember the information that would come up in the test, but none of it was actually sticking in your brain? This is something that many students around the world find difficult, and it's not that common to see people spending hours and hours using useless revision techniques, but just not remembering anything in the exam. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how to overcome that phenomena that people face, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to hack that memorization process so that you can always effortlessly memorize the information you need for that test. Before I tell you exactly what you need to do to remember information in a test, I just want to tell you my own personal story. So I'm a 16-year-old that lives in the UK, and I just gave really hard exams that every year 11 student does in the UK called GCSEs. Now, when I was revising for these exams, I didn't know what was good or bad revision techniques, so I ended up using quite bad revision techniques that ended up in me feeling quite disheartened after trying to remember information because I just didn't know how to do it. And the thing is, I would spend hours and hours and hours trying to remember information for these tests, but it would really get me nowhere because I wasn't doing it properly. Now, looking back, the two main mistakes that I made when revising, that most students do make when revising, consist of A, using the wrong revision techniques, i.e. using passive revision techniques, or a lack of focus. If you can just solve these two mistakes that I made, you can completely hack the memorization process, and you'll never have to worry about not remembering something for a test ever again, because if you just solve these two problems, your life will be sorted, academically at least. When talking about revision techniques, when revising, there are mainly two things you can do. You can either revise actively, or you can revise passively. Now, active revision involves you testing yourself with the information. For example, active revision methods involve doing past papers. So a past paper is like a previous year's paper of a test, and that basically tests the information that you know. Another revision method that is active involves blurting, and blurting involves testing yourself on the information that you've previously learned. Now, both of these methods are active because you test yourself whilst doing them. Another active revision method is something called Anki, and Anki is a flashcard application that I'll expand upon later on in this video. Anki is pretty much the best active method of revision, and is pretty much the only thing you need to remember information for a test. Now, the other methods of revision are something called passive methods of revision that everyone pretty much does, including me. I did the same mistake when I was revising, and passive methods of revision involve things like rereading or highlighting the textbook with like pretty colors. Now, these methods of revision don't involve you actually testing yourself on the information. They're just there, and they're pretty much a waste of time, honestly, because they don't actually contribute to your learning or memorization. Now, you may ask, why is active methods of revision better than passive methods of revision? And I'll explain this in fitness terminology because I'm really into fitness. Now, what I want you to sort of imagine is active methods of revision, which include testing yourself, such as blurting or flashcards or Anki, are like heavy weights. Now, if you go to the gym, you want to pick up heavy weights because they might be uncomfortable in the moment, but they actually help you grow your muscles. This is what active revision is. Active revision is hard in the moment. Like, past papers are hard to do in the moment, but they help you grow in your understanding and memorization of the content itself. However, passive methods of revision that involves sort of rereading or highlighting the textbook are like going to the gym and lifting like the really, really little weights. Now, these may be easy to do in the moment, but they're not actually going to help you grow your muscles. Now, with this analogy, now you should know that active methods of revision actually help you grow your brain muscles and help you grow your memorization. However, passive methods of revision, such as rereading or highlighting, may seem easy to do in the moment. They don't actually help you grow in your memorization skills or the content you learn itself. Now, you may be a bit suspicious of how easy this seems with active revision helping you in memorization and passive revision not helping you in memorization, but I have linked a bunch of scientific research in the link in the description below, so you can go check that out. I think this has been proven time and time again that active methods of revision actually help you remember revision, and passive methods of revision such as watching YouTube videos or rereading the textbook or highlighting are pretty useless, honestly, when it comes to revision. And if I had this same knowledge when I started revising, I would have saved hours and hours of me doing passive methods of revision that don't help you remember the information in the test at all. Now, a bonus section of this video is Anki. So Anki is probably the best method of active revision there is. Now Anki is an online flashcard application. Now you may have clicked off this video because you think that flashcards don't work for you. Well, they do. Honestly, they do. Flashcards are the best method of active revision, which means that they are the best methods for memorizing content. Now, you probably have done flashcards long, and you've probably used paper flashcards in the past, and that's probably why you think that flashcards don't work for you. But honestly, if you use online flashcards such as Anki or Quizlet, you're going to see that this saves you a lot of time, and this actually helps you remember content way more than any other active method of revision will. And honestly, I like Anki the most because it has something called spaced repetition in it, which is basically when it spaces out when you review information, which also helps your memorization, and it also incorporates active recall, which I did explain before in the video. Now, if you want information on how you can use Anki to supplement your revision, I've linked some Ali Abdal videos and some other YouTubers who help you understand how to use Anki as an application, as honestly the UI isn't that great, but it does really help memorization. And I have heard that a lot of content heavy subjects such as medicine, those students use Anki a lot to memorize this information. I will also be making a video on how exactly you can use Anki, so stay tuned. And also this app is completely free, so I don't gain anything from this, it's just a win for you. The second biggest mistake that many students make when revising is a lack of focus. Now, in Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, he states that if you have a distraction such as your phone, it disrupts your flow of work by 15 minutes. That means if you check your phone 4 times in one study session, that's 60 minutes gone of revision. To combat this, we need to create what's called a distraction-free zone. Now, what this is basically you need to have an environment in your house or wherever you live where you have no distractions at all, so you can completely focus on memorizing content. The easiest way that this can be achieved is basically just turning off your phone. And honestly, your phone accounts for about 80% of your distractions anyway. So simply turning off your phone will completely change how you memorize information. And you may not think it, but just try turning off your phone the next time you revise, and it will completely transform how you remember information. Something that helped me improve my focus was using something called a Pomodoro timer. The Pomodoro technique is where you have 25 minutes of studying and then 5 minutes break and then 25 minutes of studying. Now, I don't really like that revision technique as a whole, but I like the timer sort of example. So what I would do is I would set up a timer of, let's say, 90 minutes where you're completely focused on revising one certain chapter or topic. And then when you click the start button for the Pomodoro timer, you're basically not going to have any distractions and your phone's going to be turned off completely, and you're just going to be revising for 90 minutes. I think that this analogy of just revising for 90 minutes and then taking a break and then just revising for 90 minutes with no phone, no distractions, really helped me memorize information, because basically there's no distractions when you're completely focused on one thing. Another tip that really helped me improve my focus whilst revising is using something called brown noise. Now, you probably may have not heard of this before, but brown noise is basically when there's a static sort of sound which blocks out all the distractions around you. And this is especially useful if you live in like a noisy household. And I'll show you it here. So this is a brown noise that I use, and it's basically just a screen. It's just a screen that you put on your phone, and it's just a static that you listen to block out the distractions around you. And I think that this has really helped me when I was revising and memorizing information, because it just aids this distraction-free zone that you want to create whilst revising. And hopefully this, coupled with the Pomodoro timer, coupled with you turning off your phone, will really help you improve your focus, which will aid your memorization a lot. Overall, the 2 things that you need to change when you want to remember information even more is using active methods of revision and basically creating a distraction-free zone through the use of focus and turning off your phone. I promise you, if you do use what was in this video, you will completely change the way you remember information, and you will memorize way more information than you previously did, and this will completely change your grades and will improve your grades in the future. If you like this video, please like, share, and then subscribe. It's a win-win for both of us, and hopefully I'll try produce the same sort of content in the future. So stay tuned.